The Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you by Rams On Demand, Seat Giant, Vibe 305, and RWO, Rams World Order. Now enjoy the show.
Down the middle, to the end zone, caught by Brandon Cooks. Shoot your arrows.
It's picks. Nickel Roby Coleman
throws. Enzo caught, touchdown. Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. LaMarcus Joyner returns to the lineup with an interception in London. 35-30. Robert Wood, first down 20. 10-5. Touchdown. LA! No, it's Goff who keeps it. And Goff goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there and comes away with his third sack of the afternoon. Met immediately and sacked. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. And he gets gobbled up. Savage has to eat it as Michael Brockers picks up the sack. He's decked by Ebu Tom. Picked off. Marcus Peters strutting his stuff. Mark Barron the last 4 weeks has been a Pro Bowler.
Oh, it's picked off on the play by John Johnson.
After the throw, and we mentioned that is his 8th completed pass in his career.
Cousins sacked. Ndamukong Suh. Of all the guys, it's the rookie John Franklin Myers who knocks it out of Cousins' right hand. Todd Gurley, 20, 10, Gurley for MVP. Touchdown LA.
Welcome back, guys, to another Downtown Rams podcast. It's episode 150, and this is unlike anything before because it's Rams and Saints for the NFC Championship. That's right. So I'm joined here by my buddy Joe Curley, and we're going to be breaking this game down because it's a pretty important game. I'm sure Joe would agree with me.
What, it's important? The NFC Championship? The first NFC Championship for the Rams since their return to LA, since in over a decade. Yeah. That's why we... what did Lawrence Taylor say? Or no, it was Bill Parcells. That's why we do all that crap. That's why we lift all them weights for a week like this.
Oh, my God. Oh, boy. Yeah, so, I mean, you're listening to this, you're probably as hyped as I am about this game, as hyped as Joe is about this game, as hyped as the Rams are. I mean, this is a very hype-filled game. I mean, when you talk about getting, a potential revenge on an opponent that beat you earlier in the year, it's definitely something else. But when you add, everything else to the table, how much this matters, because, I mean, you talk about the divisional game, and you have to actually, you have to take that in, obviously, because they lost last year in the wild card round, basically, and they didn't get that bye. And really, you got to take every win, every playoff win, until you become the New England Patriots. You have to take it seriously. Because, I mean, it's funny, I'll bring this up, Joe. I don't know if you saw Sims and Lefko, the show.
No.
They had Steven Jackson on. And Steven Jackson was talking about how, they asked him to, do you root for the Rams? And he's like, well, I do. He's like, but it's bittersweet because he's like, I was there for 9 years. I gave my heart and soul, and we were never better than 8-8. And I had 6 different coaches. And, now it's like I was between the greatest show on turf and the Sean McVay era where, they just figured out how to win. And, he's talking about going to the Patriots, and he's like, yeah, Bill Belichick called me up, and he's like, Steven, you want to play football? And Steven Jackson's like, well, I guess, whatever. So, he obviously, the story, he joins the team in December, on their quest for another Super Bowl. And, he's talking to guys like Rob Gronkowski, and, he's like, Bill had him do his speech, basically talking about what he's been through and how he really hasn't played for, that many winning teams or anything like that. So this is huge for him. And Gronkowski apparently was like, "Yeah, I don't know what it's like to not play in an AFC title game." So it's like until you're at that level, you really have to take every playoff win seriously, and I think that's the key.
Figured out this week that the Saints have 9 wins in the history of their franchise in the playoffs. 9. And they've been around since the 60s. So, these things are important. Somebody was saying that if you take out that first winning streak in Brady's career in the playoffs, that he's only a 500 quarterback in the playoffs. And I'm like, 500 in the playoffs is good. It's like every, 500 in the playoffs gets you to, where the Rams are right now. So, obviously, this is a tremendous opportunity. I know. I will say this before we get into this game, and I want you to hold me to it next week. Last week's performance, the win over Dallas, ensures that this season is a success. And I know there's been a lot of Super Bowl or bust talk. I know all the hype in the preseason made it Super Bowl or bust and all that stuff. But obviously, in judging this team, and you look at what Sean McVay has done in such a short time, NFC West Championship last year, wild card round loss this year, NFC West Championship, better get the bye, and then you win a playoff game, you take a step forward, and I think you've got a lot of young players on this team. There's a platform for success going forward. So I think no matter what happens this weekend, I think Rams fans can really say that they've enjoyed this season, and that the Rams can say that they've had a successful season now. The difference between having a successful season and being a Super Bowl team is about as big a gulf as you can have in the NFL. But you win this game, and a lot of time you win this game, and then you get 2 weeks of fun leading up to the game, and you get one of the most fun afternoons you're ever going to have with your team playing in the Super Bowl, and you're never going to forget it. And I remember growing up with my team thinking my team was never going to win, never going to make a Super Bowl. And I think Rams fans can feel like they're on the cusp of maybe doing this next week, and then who knows with this guy, who knows how many times you're going to be back. So certainly enjoy it this weekend and maybe beyond. But I just wanted to make that call before we really dig into this game, that this is a 50-50 game. Saints can win this game, Rams can win this game, but no matter what happens, I think Rams fans can be proud of their team this year.
I think Rams fans have to be proud of their team going 13-3. But Joe, I totally understand where you're coming from. I would kind of look at this as a disappointment. I do feel like they're the best team in the NFL, and I don't think it's as close as it's deemed. I think that when everyone's playing at their best, say you get the best Saints team versus the best Rams team, I think the best Rams team comes out on top. I think the best Rams team came out on top of the best Chiefs team. And I think the best Rams team would come out on top of the best New England team. And those are the Final Four. So, when you're
the problem is that
that's
at, on a neutral field, on a neutral site, the fact that they're playing in New Orleans might just change everything. And I think that's where, everything kind of, maybe is altered. So I think that there's a lot of, plus they're making the flight, they're on the road, they're in that dome, in that so I think I think you could make the argument that they're the best team left, maybe the most balanced team left, and maybe that's why they're a good bet to move on. But I think the Chiefs and the Patriots are going to be playing in Arctic style conditions this weekend, and I think either of those teams would rather play in those freezing temperatures than have to go and win a game against Drew Brees in the dome. So let's not I think that's the counter argument to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I'll say this, I'm glad you brought that up. I think you have to at least give it, I think we have to talk about it a little bit. Jared Goff, we don't really know what happened with him. you look at his, November, October, September stats, and you're like, wow, this guy looked like an MVP dark horse candidate, and then December hit, and it took him completely out of that race and took him out of the top 10 quarterback conversation. I mean, no one wanted to, people are now questioning a 13-3 Rams team. Here's my thing. What if it's, I'm not saying it is, but what if it has to do something with the cold weather? Because if I'm not mistaken, playing in the Dome, Goff has played well. You're looking at 959 yards. Playing against the Saints. This isn't, entirely just the Dome. But 959 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 104.2 passer rating versus Saints in his career. And this goes back to his rookie year. And he actually had a really good game his rookie year. And, they just ended up, that was insane. They started off 21-0, and then the Saints came back and, they destroyed, whatever. But, the point is, what if it's, cold weather has something to do with Goff, and maybe the ball's not coming out the way, is confident. He's not as confident as he was earlier in the year and all that. He's playing in the Dome. You're not going to have, any of the elements affecting you. And then I'm pretty sure, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, and this may sound stupid, but don't the Falcons play in, they don't play in the Georgia Dome anymore, but they play in a new Dome stadium, correct?
Yeah, the Mercedes-Benz, whatever.
Yeah, so that's where the Super Bowl
Falcons?
is.
That's where the Super Bowl is. So, yeah.
So you could catch Jared Goff, October Goff, and if I'm sorry, if October Goff comes out against the Saints, I don't think the Rams lose. And I think if October Goff comes out and, they beat the Saints and they go to Super Bowl, the Rams are Super Bowl champions. Really a lot of this hinges on Goff. And the defense is good enough to pick up the pieces if Goff struggles. The run game obviously can help. But if they stifle the run game, and I was listening today, I think it was NFL Network, 25 straight games without allowing a 100-yard rusher, Saints run defense. If they do that again, the Rams are really going to have to rely on Jared Goff and forcing turnovers. And what was one of the reasons why they brought over guys like Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, and Ndamukong Suh to create turnovers? And they're going to need to if a game like that, goes down. So, that's my thoughts on that. Yeah, man,
you're taking all my, you're rubbing all my thunder. I'll add to that, I think one of the reasons why Jared Goff was Jared Goff in December was because of the pass protection. I think, they certainly have been playing better as of late. I'm trying to look at the pressure numbers. Give me a second to pull it up, but I do think that when we looked at those pressure numbers in Chicago and against Philly, a lot of it was Sullivan and Blythe giving up stuff up the gut, and I think that sped up Goff, and I think he was better. They've all been better. The last couple weeks, they allowed just one hit, which they gave to Gurley, which is a rare pressure for him allowed, and just 3 hurries, given up by Blythe, given up by Saffold, given up by Higbee. So both guards gave up a pressure last week, and that was that. They get think of that really nice defensive line for Dallas. Marcus Lawrence and that whole group got nowhere. Certainly the fact that the run game got off, probably a huge part of that. But I think it's definitely, if you're going to boil down this game from a Rams perspective, out of all the tips and all the guesses and all the breakdowns, I think Jared Goff plays well. Team wins, and so I think that's a lot of this is up to Goff this weekend. So I agree with you about that.
Yeah, no, it's do or die time. You saw Goff. He didn't even have 200 yards passing last week, and he didn't need it. But they also had a historic performance, on with the ground game, and I just think if the Rams, if they can't play on all 3 phases, I think they do lose this game. I don't see that happening because I think, when you see patterns in any sport, you start to notice them, start to become a problem, when it matters. And I think the Saints are now developing this pattern where they start off slow. And I think, they can obviously change that this weekend, but they start off slow against the Eagles. They start off slow against Dallas. They start off slow against Tampa Bay. They start off slow against Carolina. They start off slow against Carolina again. So, their last 5-6 games, whatever, they've started off slow. And I think, if the Rams can do what the Eagles did, score, 2 touchdowns, force, 2, punts, I think that they have a chance. Now, I think they have a chance to rout the Saints. I'm going to say that. The Eagles made a colossal mistake, and I said this as soon as they did it. Instead of, being up 14-0 and trying to play for another field goal, they were going for it all. And I get that, you want to be aggressive, but when you're on the road like that, hostile environment, you can't throw anything into the fire to get that, basically that home field advantage cooking. And, obviously the Saints fans were going nuts to start the game, but when, Jordan Matthews got behind, what's-his-face, P.J. Williams for the touchdown, that kind of changed things quickly. And then all of a sudden now Nick Foles has a touchdown. Now you're up 14-0. And, I just look at that and I'm like, okay, they're up 14-0. They have a chance to dictate this game. Next drive, after they get another stop, they have Foles go deep down the left sideline, and it gets picked by Marshawn Lattimore. The game was never the same after that. Even though they were up 14-0, you could tell they had already lost the game. The Saints were just coming back, and they had the 23-play drive, 117 yards. You and I kind of made fun of. I mean, I thought it was hilarious, honestly, that they did that. But I mean, that's the Rams can't afford that, So they got to get up early. One of the biggest issues has been red zone efficiency. I mean, we talked about that last podcast. If the Rams score 2 touchdowns, we'll take it. But the Rams cannot afford to just kick field goals. And by that, I mean 20-yard field goals. Not 40-yard, 20-yard field goals. If you're getting in the red zone, you have to finish. And, that's one thing. Goff all over the field, 60% completion passer. But once he gets in the red zone, his career, he hits 55%. And when he gets, between the 10 and the goal line, you're talking 52%. So the Rams absolutely need to put the ball in the end zone. I know it sounds like so obvious, but, I mean, seriously, that's been the only thing holding them back from really contesting the best, greatest show on turf offense as far as, statistics-wise.
Sure. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And, yeah, I think it's going to be I think both of these games, are a coin flip. And, when you've got, I love the fact that the rematches. I love the fact that these two coaches have gone up against each other. These two quarterbacks have gone up against the defenses. And, you get a chance for a second act, get a chance for some adjustments. You get to see, how these two teams have evolved over the last couple months. And the Rams get to right that wrong, try to win that game in the Superdome. So, I think somebody asked me today, I was on somewhere on the radio, and they asked me, when was the last time the clear 4 best teams in the NFL were in the Final Four, and I didn't have an answer for them. But certainly these are the 4 teams that belong here, and we're going to get some high quality football on Sunday.
Yeah, and we'll later on we'll do our predictions for the Patriots-Chiefs game. Maybe talk about that a little bit. But this game, there's just so much going for it. You have Sean McVay, Sean Payton, Jared Goff, Drew Brees. I mean, those two obviously, and Aaron Donald, who last week, I mean, he didn't get his sack, and PFF graded him the worst grade of his career. But, after watching that, I kind of feel like Wade kind of sold Aaron Donald to the run game. It wasn't about, getting Aaron Donald home on Dak Prescott. It was more so they went and pulled out all the stops to make sure they could basically stop Ezekiel Elliott, and they dictated the game because of that. Ndamukong Suh, playoff Suh looks way different than regular season Suh.
Yeah,
and that's really good for the Rams. But one thing I want to bring up is, the acquisition of Dante Fowler, because, I have to imagine at some point. I mean, he's already done some things. He had the only sack last week, if you want to call it a sack. He's prone to getting pressure. I mean, he's a speed rusher, but I just feel like these are the moments when Les Snead and Sean McVay all got together, or whatever, and they're discussing, Wade Phillips, and they're discussing, should we trade for this kid? I feel like these are the moments that they were envisioning that he could help in, because you have Matt Longacre. I mean, he's played before, he started. You have, Samson Ebukam. But Dante Fowler's really the boomer bust guy, because when he comes off the edge, I mean, if he gets a good enough jump, I mean, he's explosive. And, he's been explosive back to his days, in Florida. I think the only thing that really, obviously not the only thing, but one of the biggest things with him is inconsistency, where he can look really good 4 or 5 reps, and then the rest of the game he gets stonewalled. And I think it's really key for the Rams to get something out of him, because he did not play in the Week 9 matchup against the Saints, which is something interesting and something to really think about. He didn't play, and Aqib Talib didn't play, and we'll obviously talk about that. But I do think the acquisition of Dante Fowler is huge, and I'll also say, obviously, C.J. Anderson is he's definitely huge in this one as well.
Yeah, we're going to find out, if you could trade Cooper Kupp for Aqib Talib and C.J. Anderson, and get Dante Fowler kind of, in the, getting them running the stuff, what's more valuable? Certainly, in that environment against that offense, I think Talib is the big get. Having him for Michael Thomas, really looking forward to see what Wade's got on tap on Sunday. But yeah, I mean. I think both of these teams have, kind of evolved throughout the year. The Rams are adding players from previous, and obviously, the other big deal is that the Saints, losing Rankins, right when we look at that Rams injury report this week, and it's totally clean, and all 5 offensive linemen are healthy and back, and Gurley's now back, and C.J. Anderson just called himself the freshest running back of the NFL today. Going against a D front that's missing one of its best players now because of the Achilles injury. The Saints, a little bit weakened. Rams full strength. Maybe that makes a difference. And obviously it was a really tight game the first time around. So a lot of reasons, I think, to be optimistic, even though it's a tough team and it's a really tough environment.
Yeah, you see, I definitely agree with that. 100%. I mean, Sheldon Rankins is a huge absence for, the Saints defense. I mean, they have a lot of talent there. Onyemata is not bad himself. I mean, then, obviously you have Cam Jordan. You have, Marcus Davenport, a guy that they traded 2 first-rounders to trade for, and, I mean, to acquire in the draft. And, he's somebody that I think could be a little dangerous, kind of a mismatch on the edge. I mean, he's a bigger edge guy, and I mean, he's quick. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I mean, I know what he can do, and obviously that's why the Saints traded 2 first-rounders for him. But I think really what's made the Saints' defense so fearsome is the fact that they've gotten such great value out of guys like Demario Davis, who I don't know why he was even able to become a free agent. I don't know why the Jets didn't sign him. Because he's awesome, but the Saints, they brought him in, and man, I mean he's really played well. Really gives him that ability, the flexibility where he can play kind of all over the field in a way. I mean he's very elusive, and just somebody to always watch out for. I mean he can, obviously he's a good blitzer, but fine tackler. He's fast. He's very intelligent. And then, obviously you look at the back end of the secondary. I mean, Marcus Williams, the game came down to him last year, and he gave up the miracle, the Minneapolis Miracle to Stephon Diggs. And, that's what he's known for. And is it fair? I mean, I don't really know. It was kind of it looked like a bad play. I mean, he just was in a really awkward position. Seemed like an easy tackle, and then I don't even know. But, I mean, this is somebody that had a monster rookie year for the Saints, and that happens. And now, I'd have to imagine, in this spotlight, he's looking to try and, redeem himself. And, they have Von Bell out there as well. I think, obviously Eli Apple's a guy that I like. And, I think his trade from the Giants, I think, has really benefited him. And Marshawn Lattimore, I mean, you've seen him. I mean, he had 2 interceptions, and they were the biggest plays of the game against the Eagles. So, I do think that there's something to be said about that. And, their defense is going to be an issue for the Rams. But, regardless, I mean, this is a Rams team. Andy Benoit brought this up. 11-0 this season when they rush over 135 yards, and 3-3 when they don't.
I don't know how much I like that. I mean, obviously, when you're winning in the second half and you're running, I think you have to couch those stats with maybe where those yardage came from and how much of that was in 4-minute mode, and certainly, I'm not a big fan of that. But he also had another tweet. It's like, he had this whole story about how the Rams need to, go attack the Saints this weekend with play action. And I'm like, don't they do that every week? I mean,
they do.
I mean, come on. It's just like, come on, Andy. And I really like Andy. Andy was the one that introduced us all to Sean McVay with his feature a couple of years ago when he was still with still with Washington. But let me see if I can come up with play action numbers.
I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, their offense is a modified West Coast offense that really is dictated on the short and intermediate passing game, but really the running game. And to be quite frank, I mean, the power running game, because then it really opens up your play action, and now you have another weapon in your arsenal. I mean, now people don't understand. Even if it's a millisecond, if these linebackers are moving in any different direction than where they should be, where the ball carrier is, where the ball carrier is going to be, where the pass catcher is going to be. I mean, like, that is helping. So, back, I think it was 2015, the Rams actually had an interesting looking offense. They with the run game. I mean, they started really taking off with Todd Gurley and Brett Coleman, who's one of my favorite. One of my favorite, film guys, on the internet, Brett Coleman, I think he's with Battle Red blog on the SB Nation Texans page, but he did a breakdown of the Rams offense and how, like, Tavon Austin, the jet sweep, really changed everything. And when they started using that, it opened up, wide open opportunities for Todd Gurley, who's got that 4.4 speed, can get out. It's really good for, in this case, it would be really good for Todd Gurley, who's a home run hitter. It's not really good if you're, a 4.8 runner like LeGarrette Blount or anything like that, but you know what I mean? Like, so the point of the jet sweep, is, to really get a linebacker to, at least move a slight. And if they, even think, and they take their mind off of what, they're actually supposed to be on, or if they bite a little bit on the play action or the jet sweep, it opens up an opportunity for the running back to, once he gets to the second level, he could be gone. And, obviously the Rams have been using that with McVay. They used it with Tavon. I mean, they really can use it with whoever, but I think it's really, it just really goes to show you, anytime you're using a play action of any sort, or if you're using a read option or something along those lines, you're keeping the defense honest. The defense, and we were talking about this off air, when the Rams are in the shotgun, they don't run the ball in the shotgun like ever. I think they've had 3 carries for Todd Gurley. So defenses already know that they're throwing. So, when they're under center, however, I think that's when you have a more balanced attack. I think that's when, Sean McVay is really able to, again, just really balance everything out. Have a textbook game plan. I think, they're more so, a under center team than a shotgun team. I mean, I know Goff has taken more shotgun snaps, but I feel like the efficiency comes from under center. And that's my personal opinion, but obviously less interceptions with Goff, and I just feel like the accuracy's there, and I just think maybe we're talking too much about the play action because they do it all the time. But
Well,
let me just
tell you, I found the numbers. The Rams led the NFL 37% of the time last year. Jared Goff led the NFL in passing yards off of play action, and I think the numbers actually increased this year. So, yeah, let's move on. It was I saw that and I was like, come on, Indy.
Like, get it together, man.
Well, he's so good, but that's pretty.
Yeah.
I guess, you don't have a ton of time to go in depth right now, late in the year. The games are coming thick and fast. You're swamped. But, yeah, it's almost, I guess maybe that's for the non-Rams fans, people who maybe don't watch the Rams as much. But it's almost like, yeah, no crap. If you've seen the Rams, you've seen play action.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I think again, I think it hinges on Jared Goff, but I really want to see, because last week it wasn't really needed, the passing attack, but I want to see, if the Rams, can go deep to Brandon Cooks, or try a big shot play, and they do those, but they do them in like 30-yard plays and everything. I would honestly love to watch them kind of, go for the 60-yard bomb to Brandon Cooks. Nothing would make me more happy if they completed that to Brandon Cooks in front of the Dome audience. That's where he started doing that. So, I think I'd like to see them be aggressive in this game, but I also want them to have a balanced attack. And I think, the special teams unit, I think could also play a role in this. I think, the Eagles, they blocked a punt last week. I could definitely see, the Rams getting in there and doing that. They've come close multiple times, and obviously they've done it a lot. I think this is a game that, when you're playing a team like that, you do whatever you can to get an advantage. Special teams, you really has to step up, and, I'd like to see JoJo Natson do something in the return game as well. Because
he looks like he's just trying to field the punt. After he had that disaster.
His confidence
in the Eagles
shot.
game. Yeah. So I think he's just trying to field the punts and get through it. But certainly JoJo could get back. Well, we'll see. We'll see. They like him, obviously.
They do.
He's got to play with some confidence here this next couple games.
Yeah. No, that I hear you. I wonder if they'd bring back Tavon Austin. Oh boy!
Don't even joke, man. Don't even joke.
Hey, everyone was saying his revenge game and everything, and that good thing that didn't come to fruition. But the X factors, Joe. You talk about C.J. Anderson and all those guys. Who would be your X factor?
I think the biggest X factor is, having a second option. I think the Rams are in a really good position because, what's Sean going to do? Sean's in a position where, you could go with a lot of the passing attack, direct, downfield stuff that you saw in, the game earlier in the year. You can, you could see him use, how much is C.J. Anderson going to play in? Are they going to try to run the ball against a Saints team, like we said, that's kind of banged up front defensively? I think you could script the first couple drives and then have a, get a good sense of what's happening. You can go to one of two game plans. I'm really interested to see exactly, I just think the whole playbook is open. I think there's a lot of different options that the Rams can do offensively to attack. And then I just think defensively, I'm worried in a kind of a negative X factor. I'm worried about Lamarcus Joyner's continued play. Is he going to be an issue where, I think if you get good play out of him with Talib on the field and you could bracket Thomas and really start to wear on him a little bit. Because I think that, and plus you got Sue, the way that Sue's been playing, the way he played last week, I think that the defense is just playing, this has been a different team. That team we saw on Saturday was just not, it's just a unique team. And I think it's going to be, the Saints aren't going to have a lot of time to make adjustments and I think there's a lot of work that the Saints have to do this week, considering they've you got now multiple backs. You've got you saw a little bit of Higbee last week off of play action, and then defensively, Sue and Talib kind of the veterans playing better. And I do like the fact that you've got some of those veterans are popping right now. I mean, Aqib Talib, one of the better postseason performers at that position over the extent of his career. I mean, I think that's a big deal right now. So anyway, that was scattered all over the place, but I think I got there in the end.
It's not about how you start, it's how you finish, Joe. But no, I definitely hear you there. I think Talib is definitely going to be huge for them. This is where we talk about playoff experience, and I just don't feel like it gets embedded in people's heads enough, or they don't take it seriously. I think that's really what it is. Where, it's just who cares about experience? It's not. But I mean, you watch C.J. Anderson run the football in the Super Bowl against the Carolina Panthers. Like, you watch the way he ran in that game, and I mean, he was huge for that team, especially because we'll all admit Peyton Manning was not Peyton Manning. But Talib, with his ability to take over plays. I mean, this is the same Aqib Talib I watched when however many. I mean, he's been in the league for now 10 years. Watched him. It would be 11 or 12. Yeah, it would be 11 years ago when he won. I won't say he won it, but he kind of sealed the deal for the Kansas Jayhawks in college. He had the pick six on Sean Glennon, the quarterback, or actually it might have been Tyrod Taylor, against Virginia Tech. He is no stranger to the big moment. He can get that big time interception and whatnot. And they did not have him against the Saints. And, it seems to me the Rams, they have a lot of the momentum. The media isn't really talking about it as much. When you're talking about like NFL Network is like, well, the Saints, this, Saint, whatever. And that's fine. I get that. They're home, no place like Dome, whatever you want to call it. I mean, who dat, I think, is literally the dumbest chant ever. I just have to say that. I think it's so stupid.
Isn't it like who dat is the Saints and who day is the Bengals?
Yeah, and then they started arguing about who had that first. Dat
versus day. Yeah, that's, they can argue about that.
It's like, we're more literate than you. Like, it's like, whatever. It just blows my mind. When people say, like, Rams house is bad, it's starting to grow on me. I actually kind of got annoyed by it my first time there, with the Redskins. I don't know. It just seemed like a chant that was kind of dumb. And then it kind of grew on me in the Packers game this year. But who dat is the dumbest chant ever. I mean, it is so
You're laying
stupid.
Down the gauntlet.
I have to. I think it's so stupid.
It's
and I think Drew Brees. Drew Brees is embarrassed. There's no way with someone with that much class. I mean, like, come on, man. Like,
Drew Brees is embarrassed.
Like,
Drew Brees is like, actually,
it's who that.
Yeah, actually, it's who that. Yeah, he's like correcting the grammatical error.
I mean,
that's
like,
terrible. By the way,
I don't even care.
Shout out to Drew Brees this week for shouting out Doug Flutie. There was a question about how he helped Jared Goff. How he helped Jared Goff at the Pro Bowl last year, and he mentioned how he was paying it forward because Doug Flutie, who never got the credit he deserved as a great quarterback. That's what he said. And I was like, that's an undersized NFL quarterback giving props to the undersized, the most undersized great NFL quarterback. If Doug Flutie was, anyway, we don't have to talk about Doug Flutie, but that's pretty great that they got. I forgot that there was that, there was that connection. But he also mentioned a couple other guys that had helped him at the Pro Bowl. So I thought that was pretty cool. You forget the connect. Drew Brees has been there so long. You forget obviously that he was a Charger and how the connections now, from San Diego. So
you kept it related to the podcast because Doug Flutie was a Ram. I believe he was
Doug
drafted.
Flutie was a Ram?
Yeah, I believe he was drafted by the Rams.
When they traded his rights to Chicago? Because the first team he played for was Chicago, right?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that went down, but he was a Ram. I know that.
Let's look it up.
I know you're like, all right, now I need to know.
Well, I knew he was a Bill. I knew he was a BC Lion. How about that? Toronto Argonaut. New Jersey General. How about that?
Yeah, the Los Angeles Rams in the 11th round. He never played for them, actually. It looked like, they just traded his rights to Chicago. So
I should have known that, too, because I just read the USFL book, and I'm sure that's in there.
Yeah. How about that? You kept it podcast related without even knowing.
Yeah,
that's impressive, Joe.
That's called luck.
That's called trick points. That's
it's the number one attribute. If you guys are looking for a good football read in a couple of weeks after the season winds down, Football for a Buck by Jeff Pearlman. Awesome read and a lot of those old USFL games still on YouTube. So it's a lot of fun. Remember, the USFL gave you 2-point conversions. It gave you instant replay. So much of what made the NFL, move forward was that league. So I was a big fan as a kid growing up of that league.
Yeah, it's a shame with that because the USFL had like a good thing going, and then they tried to directly compete with the NFL and got squashed. So
yeah, but I don't think. I think this is where the conversation stops because if it keeps going, it's going to delve into politics and read the book to figure out who drove the USFL to its death.
Untimely death.
I think you can figure out he's a fairly prominent figure in the world today.
I'm actually pretty hyped about the AAF, but that's
another, Let's get to that in the offseason. But actually, I'm going to throw myself into that too because we got a bunch of locals playing in that, and I followed all the Twitter accounts, and I've been checking it out. So I'm about to dive into that in a little bit. But good call.
Yeah, we'll be here's the thing. When it's over, when the season's over and the 2018 to 19 NFL season has finished, it will be draft, it'll be NFL, it'll be Rams, obviously. And Joe, I guess we'll talk a little bit about the AF because I think it deserves, it's got some serious, coaches and you have obviously Luis Perez is, former Ram.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing for
a lot of former Rams,
the Iron. I forget what his name. And then Larry Rose, the third former Ram, and there's a bunch of them. But
your boy Larry Rose.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, shout out to the AF because that's exactly what we need. Because it's after the season. That's exactly how it should be done. You don't want to compete with the NFL. Just move it after the season. That perfect. But
exactly.
Parallels time, Joe. Parallels time.
Parallel?
So, it's a battle between two teams with gigantic parallels. First off, the Saints. Got to give them their credit. 13-3. They lost to Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Dallas. The last time they lost to Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Dallas, they went on to win the Super Bowl. So, there's the first parallel. Second parallel, the Rams. The last time they lost to a team in the regular season that they had to come from 21 down and still lose to, they beat in the Super Bowl is the Tennessee Titans. They lost in the regular season to the Tennessee Titans, and they beat them when it mattered. Saints, they beat the Rams, but the Rams came back from 21 down, fell just short. Now they're playing the Saints in the playoffs when it matters. So there you go. Also, I know a lot of people are really hoping for this. The Rams have a chance to put the Patriots dynasty to bed.
Yeah.
The same team
I
that
haven't thought of that one.
kickstarted the Patriots dynasty. I think that would be
Can you imagine?
something else. That would be.
So that's what Rams fans are rooting for.
I mean, yeah, that would be insane. Also, I want to get your thoughts, Joe.
I'm looking through AAF rosters right now. Sorry.
Oh, you're killing me. Is Mike
Bryce
Waffle
Williams.
the defensive?
Oh my God, it's like full of former Rams.
Oh,
The Arizona Hotshots has so many. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I think you're killing me.
I'll do this on my own time. My bad.
No, it's funny, and you're naming Rams, so I mean, it's sticking to the
Still
podcast.
on topic.
Still on topic, but 0-9. Okay, I want to get your take on this. 0-9, the Rams are in the history when they have Bill Vinovich as the head referee. What are your thoughts on that? Because I thought, the whole idea of having a petition is just admitting that you're going to make an excuse no matter what happens with your team. And, to me, I think, yeah, they're 0-9, but that, spans from like 2006. You have to keep in mind, Rams weren't a very good team for a while. So, 0-9 is a little skewed. And I know he refereed the Saints game earlier in the year, and that's what people are flipping out about. And they missed that call, but it wasn't just him that missed the call. New York, Al Riveron, they reviewed that, and they told him that it was not a first down. So if you're going to blame Vinovich, at least blame the NFL as a whole for just blowing the call, even with replay. But
Jeff Overbaugh, Aaron Murray. Sorry, keep going.
Aaron Murray, the quickest Rams tenure I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was there for about a day.
I was so hyped.
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I think it is silly. I don't think the same referee should be doing, the game. I think that's kind of. Although then again, it's not the same group, because certainly the playoffs are all-star refereeing team. So it's it is what it is, and I think it's Bill Vinovich. The good thing about it is you've got a quality referee. And Vinovich is a quality referee. Think about it. Obviously, the Rams. There was a time where the Rams didn't win so much. So maybe that I'm sure Owen, whatever it is, 0-8, 0-9, whatever we said it is. It just could be bad timing. Certainly, there was a huge, that game in Week 9. Turned on that refereeing call, but it wasn't even Vinovich's call. It was the linesman with the bad spot, and then Riverrun not overturning it. So it is what it is, and I don't think it's, I don't think that matters. So
yeah, I mean, and that was the only call that you could flip out on, and that was the line judge. That wasn't even Vinovich. I don't know. I think Vinovich is one of the better referees in the league, honestly. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like him because they just found out that the Rams are 0-9, but and I get you don't like referees, but there are some good ones in the NFL. I mean, John Perry's pretty good, and that's why, obviously, he got the Super Bowl nod. I think that there are some good referees. Now, I mean, I understand when people complain about, officiating and all that. I do. I mean, it's part of the game. I don't think I've ever complained more about officiating than watching a Big 12 basketball game, because I think those officials are awful in every meaning of the word. But, I get it. It's just I don't think officiating in football is always as bad as people make it out to be. I will complain about calls that, actually dictate the game. What I don't want is the Rams. I want the Rams obviously to win this game, but I'd hate if the Rams won on like a bad call. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I want to see everything go down the way it's supposed to. You don't want to be the team that went to the Super Bowl because, the touchdown at the end of the game was ruled incomplete because even though he dragged 2 feet, they didn't even get, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that.
No, I'll tell you right now, you don't want to be the dynasty that sprouts out of one of the more controversial correct calls in NFL history. I mean, that's, if a quarterback's arm's moving forward but comes down and he doesn't tuck the ball, and that's a fumble, or is it not a fumble, or is it an incomplete pass? I'll tell you right now, that entire dynasty is built on a let's say a foundation of snow. How about that? That's just a terrible way to build a foundation, right? Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense.
So I'm just making this up. It's just off the top of my head. It's not true life NFL or anything.
Charles Woodson is very salty about that. Don't bring that up to him. I actually feel awful for him because did you see what he tweeted?
Oh, it's
like
a sucky way. Now it's a sucky way to win a play. It just it sucks. Terrence McGee.
Oh,
I'm just gonna keep doing it.
That's actually you should just bring this. You should just do this into the next week's pot.
Demetrius Rainey.
Oh my God. Oh,
Zach Stacy. Hey, Zach Stacy.
What? He's in the AAF?
Yeah, he's on the Memphis Express.
Ooh.
Which is,
like
by the way,
enough to be in the NFL.
That's a USFL team. That's a USFL city with another USFL team's nickname. Because you had the Memphis Showboats and the LA Express. So the Memphis Express is so... Although I guess it's obviously Federal Express is in Memphis. It's centered in Memphis. Anyway, keep going. I think, dude, it's so many. I'm not even saying them all. Oh my God, it's amazing.
Do you guys hear Joe right now? Like he's a kid in a candy store. Like he can't even contain himself.
Well, because we talked about this. Spring football is genius.
Who needs playoffs? I'm looking at the AAF rosters. You killed me. Yeah, no, that's funny. But like, I mean, I don't know. When you, I don't remember what I was talking about. Honestly, like you said, Terrence McGee and I lost.
The Rams are in the NFC Championship game, and I'm just spouting off old Rams on the. Yeah, that's when you know that we're ready to, like you just said, that it's Thursday. You don't know how you're going to make it to Sunday. We're kick off the game already.
Yeah, and actually, since we're talking about AAF, and I was debating whether or not I should bring any of it up, I'm going to name the quick names from the Shrine game that the Rams met with. So I will do that, and then we'll get on with the predictions and everything. Sound good? So
this is your podcast. You don't have to ask me for permission. Although I may interject more former Rams names on the Salt Lake Stallions.
I love these names. Who are you going to pick in the AAF to be your team?
Stallions was another USFL. I just bring back the USFL. Let's just do that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Kalen Clay, former outside. Yeah, keep going.
Kalen Clay. He was
There's
first.
an Austin Davis, but it's not the Austin Davis. So.
No, he's on the Titans. Kalen Clay was the first Rams. He was the first Sean McVay Rams sign, and then it might have been the quarterback from Utah that turned into a tight end. Forget his name, but anyway, the Rams at the Shrine game right now. The
Mike Purcell. Sorry. Okay, that'll be it. I will stop. You go right ahead.
The Rams, obviously they meet with their prospects and everything. I'll try and get down because I'm going to jot down, see if if I see anybody talking to anybody at the Senior Bowl, I'll jot that down. I'll get you guys that information like I did last year. It's a little difficult because it's a mob, and I'm also trying to get interviews, but we'll try. Regardless, the East-West Shrine game that takes place in St. Petersburg, Florida, it is, you have your prospect meetings. I thought it was very interesting, Joe. The Rams met with 2 linebackers, they met with 2 tight ends, they met with 2 quarterbacks. Everything else was 1 receiver, 1 guard, and 1 corner. Marcus McMarion, the quarterback from Fresno State, and his counterpart Keyshawn Johnson from Fresno State as well. Jordan Taiamu from Ole Miss, the guy that's been throwing touchdown passes to DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, DeMarcus Lodge, and Dawson Knox. So he met with them. O'Shea Dugas, the guard from Louisiana Tech. C.J. Conrad, the tight end from Kentucky, Daniel Helm, the tight end from Duke, Justin Hollins, linebacker, edge guy from Oregon, Sion Taki from BYU. I could not wait to say that name. And cornerback Rashad Fenton from South Carolina. So the Rams are obviously meeting with their guys. And Joe, any thoughts on the fact that they met with 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and 2 linebackers?
Yes. Get a quarterback. Get a tight end. Get linebackers. And throw some cornerbacks while you're at it in case you need to move on from one of those free agents. Those to me, I mean, I think I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Rams need to draft 1 quarterback every single year under Sean McVay.
Yeah.
So
you're seeing what hiring, how that's going. Can you imagine when, a quarterback, gets an opportunity under Sean McVay in the preseason? I mean, quarterbacks are currency. I mean, you saw Patriots were able to get something for Jacoby Brissett. Patriots were able to get something for Garoppolo. They didn't really play all that much. So, I mean, that's your opportunity to kind of sell them to the rest of the league. And Jared Goff, I mean, if he plays every game like he's Eli Manning, I'll take it. But he's not guaranteed to not get hurt, So, I think you always have to be prepared. If you were asking me, I think there's some quarterbacks out there that really make a lot of sense. Gardner Minshew from Washington State, really like him. I like Jordan Ta'amu, the guy I mentioned earlier, out of Ole Miss. I like Easton Stick from Carson Wentz's school, North Dakota State. He's the successor to Carson Wentz. And I like former Ram Mark Ripien. He has his nephew, Brett, who played for Boise State. I like him a lot as well. And, those are really the guys that I've been looking at. I mean, there's some other guys that are, Tyree Jackson's an interesting one out of Buffalo. Just got added as a late addition to the Senior Bowl because he took so long to actually commit to the NFL. Really interesting project. He's 6'7". He kind of plays like Cam Newton, but he's extremely raw. He has unbelievable tools, but he's very raw. So it would be interesting to see if McVay would be interested in something like that. But those are just some names, and obviously, I won't go down the list or anything, but I did want to mention that because you know what, Joe was mentioning AAF players. I felt like this is still Rams related, and I've been dying to because guys, I have 3 interviews that I did, and I'm waiting because I don't want it to take away from the attention of the playoffs.
Yes, I told you not to.
Yep. Yeah, Joe told me not to. I don't want it to take away from the attention of the playoffs, and especially I don't want it to take away from the attention of the actual interviews because I thought they were all phenomenal. I'll let you guys know right now I interviewed Jalen Ferguson, the all-time FBS leader in sacks, from Louisiana Tech. He'll be at the Senior Bowl. I interviewed Alex Wesley, who, you guys know Kyle Sloter, obviously, the Minnesota Vikings, friend of the podcast. He's been on 3 times. Guy he was throwing a football to, Alex Wesley. He'll also be at the Senior Bowl. Interviewed him. And I also interviewed Khalil Hodge from Buffalo, linebacker, stud. Watch him at the East-West Shrine game this weekend. He's a lot of fun. Love to see him in a Rams uniform. But those interviews are coming shortly. I mean, we have a lot of time in between, if the Rams make this Super Bowl, there's that, gap, the excitement. You mentioned it, Joe. We'll throw those out there then. But Joe, let's dive into this prediction time because I've kind of been chomping at the bit, even though it doesn't seem like I have.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
So let's pick both games. I'm going to pick Kansas City. I've multiple times this week I've picked the 2 teams that won the first 2 games. Actually, I did. I had a long spot on an East Coast radio station today, and I basically said the same thing. And I said, by the time I get to Friday, though, I may switch to Patriots Rams. both of these games, I think, are just great matchups, and really excited to watch both of them. Going to be, I think, one of the better championship Sundays in NFL history. Could be two really entertaining games if the weather's good enough in Kansas City. We know how entertaining the game in New Orleans is going to be. But I think I'm going to end up with Chiefs, Rams. I can't pick the Saints on your podcast. I think I'm going to end up there, because I just think that the Chiefs are just playing so well offensively. As long as the game isn't in frigid conditions, as long as it's not like under 10 degrees, I think the Chiefs should win that game. I think their defense played really well against the Colts. And then, I think it's really hard. It's the easy thing to do is to pick the Saints in this game. There's a reason why the Rams are the longest shot this weekend, simply because I guess this is a good time for these stats. Saints are 6-0 all time in the playoffs in the Dome. 7-0. 7 of their 9. Sean Payton is 6-0 in the Dome. Excuse me.
So is Breeze
in the playoffs, and Breeze, and 7 of their 9 all-time playoff wins are in that place. Just statistically, it's just a difficult place to go and play. But I do think, like, because of what I mentioned earlier in the podcast, with Rankins being out, the Rams running game playing so well, Talib back, I think there's so many, and plus just the way Jared Goff has played in that building, he's played really well in that building. There's so many reasons to go with the Rams. I just think they're playing better right now. A Rams fan whose opinion I really respect, just texted me and says, if the Rams like they played on Saturday, they win. If the Saints play like they did on Sunday, the Rams win. If Jared doesn't throw the game away, the Rams win. If the defense continues its upswing, Rams win. I just think all the momentum is kind of in the Rams' favor, and certainly the conditions and the and the home field advantage are in the Saints' favor. And so, I think it's a coin flip. I think you can go either way, and I just can't come on your podcast and pick the Saints. So I will officially go Chiefs, Rams this weekend, potentially the most, with a Monday Night Football rematch in the Super Bowl. It's just going to be very memorable.
Yeah, no, I that is something else. The Rams and Chiefs again. I know, a lot of people. It's really funny how that brought up the whole. I mean, you literally had an article. I forget who it was by, but you had an article the day after that game. Like, does the NFL need a 12th defensive player? Like, that was the stuff that was coming out. Surprisingly, the Chiefs beat the Colts based on their defense. The Rams beat the Cowboys based on their defense. It's defense and running the football. The Chiefs' defense and running the football. Patrick Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown in that game against the Colts. So I find that hilarious, because it's like everyone thought that the Chiefs and Rams broke the NFL, scoring-wise. And now it's like, well, it just goes to show you adaptability. I mean, I'm not going to get into the Chargers thing again, because they really irritated me. When you're watching football as an NFL fan, you hate to see a team make the same mistake over and over again. You hate to, watch Tom Brady go up against his own coverage because he just is laughing in his head. And you also hate when something's not working and a defensive coordinator will continue to do that same thing, like 7 DBs. Sorry, Joe. I still can't get over that. But anyway, my prediction is I have Rams-Patriots. When I look at the Rams game, I have 41-30 Rams. I think it is going to be a high-scoring game. I think it definitely has potential. The Rams' defense and the Saints' defense are both they both have a chance to really play and really dictate this game and really be a bother. I think both of these quarterbacks could have an issue. I also think both of these quarterbacks could go off. I am picking the Rams 41-30. I think what the Saints did last week was just continuing to follow a pattern that's just not ideal for winning football games, starting off slow. I think the Rams will get the ball to start. I think they'll, get off to an early lead, and I don't think they'll look back. I don't think they'll have to go for it on fourth down. I don't think they'll let the momentum swing. The Saints will maybe make a charge at the end, but it's going to be 41-30, I believe, because I do think that the Rams will dictate this game. And at the end of the day, when you know the Saints are going to pass and they have to pass and they're down, they become easy to defend. You double team, Michael Thomas, and all of a sudden it's not as easy. And I do think, while the Saints are at home, you have to keep in mind home field advantage kind of goes away when you take an early lead. The Eagles, I mentioned it earlier, Eagles did just that, and they made a huge mistake by going for it all on the third drive, and it changed the outcome of the game. I don't believe the Rams will make that same mistake. I think they'll get off to an early lead, and I think they have the weapons, in the ground game anyway, to really, they don't really need Goff. If they get off to an early lead, I think they'll be able to kind of just, have Gurley and CJ kind of carry the load. That's, my opinion on that game. In the next game, the Patriots-Chiefs, I have 27-23 Patriots. I think, this is a game that I think Mahomes is going to be relatively grounded in. I do think the Patriots are playing with a lot of fire. I think that, for the first time in their franchise history, they scored on the first three possessions of the game, touchdowns. They've never done that before, and they did that against the Chargers. When you look at everything that they can beat you with, you talk about, James White, a guy that can catch 20 passes in a game. He doesn't care. He gets open. He's in the flat. Tom Brady has a security blanket. It works. When you talk about having, Rex Burkhead, you talk about having Sony Michel, a guy that had 3 touchdown runs in that game. I think he's the first one to ever do that in the postseason. 3 touchdown runs in the first half of a playoff game, which is phenomenal. I get this team is they're ridiculous at home, and they won't be playing at home. But and I know Tom Brady he's never won it on the road in playoffs, right? Like I don't believe he's ever.
Oh, of course he's won on the road. He just they had that, one of the biggest wins in Patriot history was when they knocked out that great Chargers team in 2006 and did the lights out dance in the middle of the field in San Diego. They just haven't won a playoff game on the road since 2006 because they've only played 3 of them.
Oh, yes, that's right. So yeah, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't look into that. I really don't. I don't look into Breeze's record. People are like, are you really going to say, like, okay, so let me ask you
I do think he's a different quarterback outside the dome.
He absolutely is. But, I just think in general, Vinovich 0-9, when, the Rams are, or like,
that's
Breeze 0-6. When you're talking about quantifying, experiences from the past and not really just the present, you're not talking about now. I just think it's silly.
I'm going to cut it short right here. Okay. The only thing that matters is Sean McVay is your head coach. Anything that happened before Sean McVay was the Rams head coach shouldn't even be brought up.
Yeah.
There's the Sean McVay era and there's everything else. And that's the only thing that matters this weekend is that this team is built for the playoffs. It's got Sean McVay at the helm. And as long as Jared doesn't screw it up, this team's going to be playing in Atlanta.
I honestly couldn't agree more. And
was that for a definitive statement?
Yeah, people get really defensive anytime you're like, well, you saw Sean McVay was kind of like, okay, so we'll just not come and play, or I forgot what he said, but it was like, was it NFC, Joe, or was it the last conference champions period? Like the last 10 have all been playoff.
What was that? It's the last 10 of both. It's the I looked it up when I heard it because I didn't think I heard it wrong. It was the last 5 in both. So the last 10 total, the last 5 in both. If you go back to 5 years, there was a road team that won. Who was it? So it's just been the last 5 years, and because the 1 seed, remember the 1 seed has gone there since 2012, 2013, something like that. I'll get it for you. keep going.
By the
I'll
way,
get it real
something that's worth mentioning, because you said if it's not with Sean McVay, there's no point of even bringing it up. This is the rubber match. This is game number 3. Last year, Sean versus Sean, McVay came out on top. Oh, injuries, sure. I mean, Kent Crawley wasn't fully healthy, and, Marshawn Lattimore didn't play. But, I mean, there's injuries this year. The Rams didn't have Talib. Now they're even. Because now the Rams don't have Kupp, and the Saints don't have Rankins. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Kupp kind of makes more of a difference, honestly. I really do.
Yeah. Last road team to win an NFC Championship game, 2012. Niners went into the Georgia Dome and won the year that Captain Khaki Pants went. And the brothers played each other in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, and they ruined their family lineage or whatever. They don't sit at the dinner table together anymore at family dinners.
Can you imagine two brothers coaching against each other in the friggin' Super Bowl? That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean maybe Zach Taylor and his brother, if his brother ever gets a coaching job.
Wow.
I mean, I wouldn't hold my breath on that, but
All right, buddy. I think that's enough. Let's play the game. I'm considering whether or not I'm going to do this at home, or if I'm going to go to the local watch party for the Canal Valley Rams group. Or maybe you can convince me to do a joint Facebook Live in the middle of the fourth quarter. Maybe we should spend the game in the Discord channel or something.
Yeah, something like
I don't know. Or maybe maybe tweet it out. Maybe we'll do like a pregame chat in the Discord channel, at
Q&A
at 10 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, something like that. Let's do something like
Q&A.
that.
Yeah.
Or maybe me and you do a Facebook or something. All right, I'm going to bed. I'm dead. This has been
all right,
week.
guys. Well, Joe is he's left the building, so
I can't even consider a Patriots Rams Super Bowl rematch to be the end of the dynasty that was dawned and the beginning of a new dynasty. Oh my God, I can't even take that.
I don't know
Mahomes. Either that or then you get the young guns. The other thing we need to mention in this is the great match. How both coaching matchups are Walsh guys against Parcell guys.
Interesting.
From their seeds from those trees, which is pretty cool. So anyway, a lot going on in this game, dude. This weekend.
Yeah. Oh, but we got a freaking blood moon too.
Whatever the hell that is.
There's going to be a blood moon in the back of the Patriots-Chiefs game.
And or a bloodbath, either one or the other.
And we'll find out if Bill Belichick is going to turn into a werewolf.
Very nice. Well done. Yeah. We all know he's a vampire, not a werewolf.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, my God. Well,
cold-blooded.
Yeah, cold-blooded. Well, I mean, I've already crapped enough on the Who Dat chant and everything. I still think it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's almost as bad as hashtag do your job when the Patriots had that.
No, there it is. There it is.
That was bad. Or do damage. Like that.
Oh, that was the worst.
I can
give
Red
you
Sox.
that one. Do damage is just dumb.
Or what was it? The Chargers. The Chargers hashtag together forever or something.
Together forever and never to part LA.
Oh my God. It was no, it was
it was LA
No,
it was fight for LA, fight together, fight for everything.
Fight for each other. Fight for each other. That was the hashtag.
Oh my God.
Be red, see red.
The moral of the story is that we should be social media marketers for some of these NFL teams. Maybe we'll start our own AAF team. Be the Albany Firebirds.
Why don't we do our own hashtag? Where if you like something that you heard on the podcast, you hashtag this, and we'll keep up on it. Joe, what should be the hashtag?
No. What was it? When I going downtown. That was I named your fantasy football team, and you never changed it this year.
Oh yeah,
No.
going downtown.
Yeah. All right.
That's
about it. Wrap this up.
Hashtag going downtown.
On to the Superdome, to downtown New Orleans.
Yeah. Yep. For those of you that are traveling out there, be safe. Have a great flight, whatever you're doing. And the people at watch parties, drink responsibly, enjoy. Be careful, I guess. When you're talking do or die, those games, man, I don't know if you want me to go Facebook Live. Like, I don't know where, I'm confident in the Rams, but, this is really, I didn't think for a second, last week, the Rams had a chance of losing that game. This week, those thoughts will creep in your mind. You're talking 2 13-3 teams. But I say both these teams, let me just say this. Every team in this playoff hunt right now could beat any of the Final Four teams last year. Boom. Better NFL.
I like it. Yeah.
All right.
It's a great finish to a great year. And, oh, man. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take Patriots-Rams 2. That's going to be something.
Oh, Tom Brady versus Goff.
It's going to be Mahomes-Goff.
You think so?
It's going to be the reprisal of the 54-51.
Will this be like Celtics Lakers? Will we be seeing this a lot? The Chiefs with Mahomes, I feel like they can go every year, and the Rams with McVay.
Yeah, as long as Andy doesn't screw it up. The Chiefs get a defense. Look out. It looks like they're starting to play some D. Anyway, now we're going back down this hole. Get me to bed. Hey,
all right,
guys. I just want to say good luck, Rams fans. Have yourself a day. Enjoy it. You know how long you've waited for this thing. And, go kick some Cajun butt. Good luck. He
means ass. Go kick some ass.
If I say that, I'll never be on the podcast again. My editors will tell me to stop coming on.
No, it's all good. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. For Jake Ellenbogen, he's Joe Curley. This has been the Downtown Rams podcast, episode 150. And you guys enjoy this Sunday. We will be back next week. I will be traveling to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl, and that I'm flying out on Monday. So I'll be flying out on Monday to the Senior Bowl. I'll be getting some interviews, but we'll also do a podcast hopefully before then. I would like to do one if the Rams, regardless Rams win or lose, definitely want to get one up, and out there. So. Once again, for Jake Elmo and he's Joe Curley, this has been the Downtown Rams podcast, and we're signing off. Have a good one, guys. Go Rams.